let's just take a peek a little bit at what's going on with live trial in the Paltrow case. Again, this is a ski collision. That's what this case is. This is who hit who on a hill, and tomorrow's podcast breaks that down more. All right, let's take a look. This looks like we're still in opening.
Essentially, with this lawsuit.
Oh gosh, sound.
I mean, I think the best thing after this is over, this will be a good thing, win or lose, I think.
Objection, Your Honor. That's our argument.
Sustained.
They will say that. Our experts.
Objection, Your Honor.
Our experts will say that.
Oh dear.
Is that objectionable?
Yes.
No.
You've been very kind. I'm going to end here with
Oh my.
Lady Justice. So the blindfold you get,
Oh gosh.
we're not going to feel sorry for them. We're not going to make our decision on that. The weighing of evidence, they have to have more evidence than not. And the sword,
Val is
we
saying,
are defending
who's higher on the
a
mountain?
false allegation.
Objection.
And we need your help. And
Your Honor,
thank you so
this
much
is
for
our
doing
argument.
it.
Should be sustained.
I'm done, and
Overruled just a little latitude there.
that's about 10 overruled objections during my closing, which
Opening.
I
That
think
was
is inappropriate.
your
Honor.
opening.
Why don't we approach the bench?
This is going to get snarky if they had that many objections during opening. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Who was higher on the mountain? Gwyneth Paltrow says she was. The doctor says he was. This is going to be interesting. This is already a mess, and we're just at the end. Both parties say they were higher on the mountain. Now we've got a little bit of snark. That's a lot of lawyers. This started in the motions in limine yesterday. Yesterday. I was talking about them yesterday when I recorded the podcast very late. This goes through the motions in limine where they're talking about what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. I talk about that in tomorrow's podcast. Can you ask for sympathy of the jury or not? But this is opening. I will go through the opening and clip out some moments to give with you guys. 70
justice and conservation ever.
What the
anywhere
fuck?
in the world.
No. Stop it. Oh, the bait and fucking switch. Don't switch coverage. Just leave. We are going to have to get our own feeds. All right. Hold on. Just clicking away to something else is so freaking annoying. Nobody was closing. That was an opening. I don't know which lawyer's which yet. We just turned it all in together. So it's going to be fun. I was like, ugh. Oh, this is delightful sound. This is why we can't do that. This is why we can't do this. So it's a lot of lawyers. It is. This case started as a $3 million ask with a 69-year-old at the time of the incident. This incident happened in 2016. So that probably would have been Paltrow's attorney but I don't know if they've already gotten through the other side's opening yet. So if it was, Gwyneth Paltrow's side will go second. So dude on the ski slope sues Paltrow. Paltrow counterclaims him.
Okay, we're going to take our noon recess at this time. I've been informed that lunch will be available for the jurors. Just to let you know, the parties have agreed to split the cost of lunches so that you don't have to try to travel out to go find lunch. You're certainly welcome to go if you'd like, but lunch will be provided for you, and we'll reconvene at 1 p.m. Thank you.
All right. They're breaking for lunch. The video feed for Paltrow is limited to Court TV per the court's order. It's not. This is a pool feed. There is one pool of cameras, Court TV's pool of cameras, and then those pool feeds, any other media outlet can use them. Let's go to openings real quick. Let's see if we can zoom through them at like 1.25 and take a look at opening statements real quick. All right. Let's just back it up. Let's just back it up and go to openings. Let's put them on 1.25 and see how we go for a little bit and see how, let's see how we go. All right. That's what we're doing. I'll answer as we need to. Gwyneth Paltrow is countersuing for $1.
To rely on the opinion, but you are not required to do so,
All
or
right.
has been.
These
as
are opening
evidence,
jury
Will be
instructions.
with you in the jury room, and help explain the jury room when you deliberate. You may consider them
All
to the
right.
extent that they correctly reflect the evidence.
These are opening
Instruction
jury
19
instructions. I'm not doing
Out
opening
of
jury
status
instructions.
or practices.
They're not
Instruction
helpful to
20,
us
conflicting
at this
testimony of
point.
jurors.
They're helpful to the jurors, but for our purposes, there we go.
I neglected to do that. If you could please introduce who's at your table and your client, please.
All right, introductions.
Good morning. My name
Hold on. Introductions we need. We need these. These are important.
is Robert Sykes. This is Lawrence Bueller. He and I are the
One of the lawyers is named Bueller? Oh my God. All right, Sykes, Bueller, and who?
co-lead counsel here. We also have Kristen Van Orman and Peter Sorensen. Altogether, we are honored to represent Terry Sanderson here at the end. Thank you.
Ah!
And the defense.
All right, hold on. Okay, so this is lead counsel. Bueller is co-counsel. This dude in the suit over here in the purple tie is the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the dude who is suing. So that dude on the end is the dude that's suing. He was 69 in 2016 when this happened. So he's in his 70s. Look, man, that man looks wonderful for his 70s. Life in Deer Valley must be amazing. Colorado air. So that's their table. All right, let's keep going.
Are the co-lead counsel here.
So that's
We
the
also
plaintiff in the
have, Kristen
purple
Van
blue
Orman
tie.
and Peter Sorensen. Altogether, we are honored to represent Terry Sanderson here at the end. Thank you.
That dude.
And the defense.
Thank you. My name is Steve Owens. I'm here in town.
So this is Gwyneth Paltrow's side of the table.
Firm called, well, I should say Salt Lake City, at a firm called Epperson and Owens. This is James Egan, Noreen Aburama, Peter Jensen, and we're all here for Ms. Paltrow.
Who doesn't stand up in front of the jury.
Thank you.
Brett, thank
Ah! That was user error. Damn it. It shifted. Hold on. Darn it. Now I've got to get back to the introductions. I was trying to hit pause. All right. We found it. We found it. We found it again. Give me 1 second.
Steve Owens. I'm here in town at a firm called, well, I
The
should say
sound
Salt
is
Lake
awful.
City, at a firm called Epperson and Owens.
All right.
This
We're
is
going to
James
zoom
Egan.
this and get to opening statements.
Testing.
All right. Let's.
Your Honor, while we're doing that, we should be clear that no witnesses at the trial are permitted in this courtroom. I'm not keeping track of everyone, but the exclusionary rule applies.
Exclusionary rule will apply, meaning that anyone who will be a witness in this case cannot sit in and listen to the case before they testify. So if there's anyone here that's
The
a witness,
sound is
you'll need to leave the
difficult.
courtroom now. Thank you.
All right. Judge Holmberg.
Did we get it operating? Okay.
And they are trying to get the audio operating. The audio right now is terrible.
Start again. Ladies and gentlemen.
Still can't hear.
Oh, well, let's try this. Is that better?
You can rotate the base of that.
Oh, good God. They're in Colorado.
Ladies and gentlemen, distracted skiers cause crashes. Defendant Gwyneth Paltrow knew that looking up the mountain and to the side while skiing down the mountain was dangerous. And she knew that skiing that way, looking somewhere else, blindly skiing down a mountain.
How do you know this? How do you know this? How do you know where she was looking? He was, oh, sorry, Utah, not Colorado. You're right. No, it's Deer Valley, but also Utah, not Colorado. Apologies. Look, it was a long evening recording the podcast on this. How do you know that? How do you know that?
By looking up and to the side was reckless.
This happened in 2016.
And she knew if she continued to ski that way, that it was not a matter of if, but when, by looking up and to the side,
Oh, God.
it was not a matter, she would crash into somebody below her, and someone would get seriously and permanently hurt. She knew what she was doing was dangerous. She knew it was reckless, and somebody would get hurt anyway. I think I just said that. But before we get into the details of this case,
Y'all,
of how Gwyneth Paltrow's neglect, her choices, and her conscious disregard for other people on the mountain all combined together to cause Terry Sanderson to suffer 4 broken ribs and permanent brain damage, we first have to talk how skiers are supposed to ski down a mountain, what the rules of safety are, and the purpose for those rules, and what happens when skiers break those rules.
he is reading his opening.
That way we will all be on the same page, and we can get into the details of this case.
These are
Okay?
opening statements from the plaintiff, Sanderson.
All skiers know that when they are skiing down the mountain, it's their responsibility to pay attention,
That's true.
look downhill,
Yep.
and yield the right of way to the skiers below them.
Great.
Because the skiers below them can't see behind them to control, as they turn left and right.
This is the plaintiff's
to control
attorney,
their speed, especially when there's multiple people on the
not
mountain.
Paltrow's attorney.
It's the uphill skiers' responsibility to yield the right of way to those below.
This case was filed in 2019.
And it's never enough to say, well, so what if I crashed into someone that was below me on the mountain? That doesn't mean it's all my fault. Because especially on a beginner run,
I don't know what's happening.
they know that
Y'all, this
skiers may
is
be
gonna
less experienced,
painful.
and that skiers below them trust that the ones coming behind are paying attention. That's what skiers do. Before they start down a hill, they take account of how many skiers are below them, what those skiers are doing,
Oh,
and
not-
they keep their eyes forward
They
down the
take
hill,
account, not
so
like
they can yield the right of way.
counting. They like look.
And even though it can be challenging sometimes when skiers do these things, they get to enjoy skiing, they get to practice their skiing, and most importantly, everyone gets to go home safe at the end of the day,
Okay.
and that's a good thing. But some skiers say, well, what's so wrong with looking up the mountain, behind me, and to the side while skiing down the hill? Just because a crash occurs on the mountain with somebody that was below me, that doesn't mean it's my fault. And some skiers say, well, what if the person below me on the mountain was changing directions quickly? Maybe it's their fault too. And finally they say, look, what's the big deal? You're not that hurt. And it's attitudes like this, behavior like this, and choices like these when crashes happen. And sometimes it's just a bump or a bruise. Sometimes it's a scare or a close call, but sometimes it's worse.
It's
Sometimes
real
broken
scary.
bones,
Crashing
Sometime-
skiing is no joke.
a concussion or permanent brain damage. And that's exactly
People
what
get
happened
killed
here.
skiing.
So let's get into the details of the case.
Let's.
Lieutenant Gwyneth Paltrow has skied since she was 3 years old and considers herself an intermediate skier. Miss Paltrow has skied about a half a dozen times
Since she
at
was
Deer Valley
3?
Ski Resort. She hires multiple ski instructors for her children, which allows them to skip the lines. The private instructors cost thousands of dollars per day. On the day of the collision, February 26, 2016, Miss Paltrow is skiing at Deer
Interesting that he's like, the private ski instructors allow them to skip the lines. Celebrities pay to skip the lines at Disney with the private tour guides. Like, are we shocked that rich people pay to skip the lines? Look, if I can pay for a fast pass at Disney, I'm sure going to do it. The private tour, maybe not. But also, this was a beginner run. This was a beginner run.
Valley with 9 people, including her 2 children, her future husband, Brad Falchuk, his 2 children,
Y'all,
and
I don't know
4
about this
Deer Valley
trial.
private ski instructors. Eric Christensen is one of those private ski instructors.
Four
He
ski
has worked for Ms.
instructors.
Paltrow's family for a handful of ski vacations in past seasons. Eric Christensen knows the family well enough that one time he sent her son some pottery that he hand makes. A few minutes before noon,
Okay.
Ms. Paltrow's group of 10 meet at the top of Bandana Ski Run to go to the bottom for lunch. Bandana is a green run about 3/4 of a mile long. Deer Valley grooms Bandana
This is going to
every
not
day,
be
every ski day.
thrilling,
Skiers
y'all.
have skied on it for 3 hours. The snow is packed. Although a green run, Bandana is steep enough for skiers to pick up speed.
Did you get some good speed?
Unless they make turns.
Is it fun?
Slow signs are always at the top. I'm just going to show you a picture of that real quick.
I would love to see
This
it.
is not the actual ski day or the event. This is just an example of what bandana looks like.
So for those of you asking about attorneys, being not a, first of all, civil attorneys don't go to trial nearly as much as criminal attorneys do. They just don't. So they have less practice going to trial. Going to trial on television
the top of
is a whole
bandana ski
different
run.
thing.
This is not
But
the day of the crash.
a
but
lot
it's
of
near the
lawyers
crash
just aren't
site.
charismatic.
And as you can see, the top of the lift is where people get off and start to ski.
I'm bummed
They
that we
come
can't
down,
see it.
And the rest of bandana goes down.
Oh, there we
about
go.
Another half mile or so.
Yay! Can we go home now? Not yet. We're gonna watch a little bit of these openings. I've put them on 1.25, and we'll see.
I just had one of Bob's fisherman's friends cough drops, and it's a little drier than I expected.
Great.
Also at the top of bandana is a meetup group of about 6 adults. A meetup group is a group that meets online to engage in activities like skiing,
like actually meet up.
hiking, or bowling, or many other activities.
My husband wanted me to go bowling over
Plaintiff
spring
Terry
break,
Sanderson is in this meetup group.
and I was like, Dr. B,
4 in the meetup group
these don't
ski down.
bowl.
4 of those in the meetup group
We went to Topgolf instead.
ski down first. Then Sanderson skis down to the right. Craig Ramone is another person in the meetup group who skis about 35 feet
Should we
behind
still
Sanderson.
should we speed them up a little bit more? All
Sanderson
right.
and Ramone know each other only through skiing in this meetup group.
That's better.
So they're not really close friends, but they know each other. And they've only done about a half a dozen of these meetup groups together.
I don't know if I'm going to do all of this.
At the top of
This is opening statements.
Of bandana, Miss Paltrow, her 2 kids, and their 2 instructors are ready to go down to the bottom of bandana for lunch. Before they ski, one of Miss Paltrow's children says, Mommy, watch us ski." Okay.
How do you
The
know
children
that?
and their 2 instructors ski to the left. And the 2 instructors are Eric Christensen.
What
and Carrie
evidence will
Oakes.
show that?
Miss Paltrow skis down to the right. She turns her head up to look at her children. As she turns her head back down, she screams. Then skis back into the back of Terry Sanderson. She rides us back down. They hit the ground hard, and Miss Paltrow bounces off of Terry. The weight of both of them,
Bounces?
their bodies, cause
Can we just
Mr.
be honest
Sanderson's
that the
rib
weight
cage
of
on his
Gwyneth
arm to smash into
Paltrow
the
is
ground,
not,
breaking 4 of his ribs.
I mean, a ton.
2 of them completely. Sanderson's helmeted head hits the ground, causing a concussion as his brain strikes the inside of his skull. Sanderson is face down in the snow, unconscious. Skiing 35 feet above them, Craig Ramone is the only eyewitness to of the crash. Ramone skis down
What's
and
interesting,
stops just next to.
they say Craig Ramone is the only witness to the crash. Paltrow's side say Christensen is the only witness to the crash. The 2 stories on this are so freaking divergent, it's wild. The plaintiff story and the defense story are in totally different universes of what happened. It's wild.
He asks if they are okay. They say nothing. Ramone, again, is the only witness of this crash.
Ramone was
Miss
up the
Paltrow is
hill.
slow to get up. Her son's instructor, Eric Christensen, skis over from the left and stops above Sanderson and screams at Sanderson, who is not moving. "What did you do? What did you do?" Surprised by the crash and Christensen yelling at Sanderson, Ramone thinks, "Why is this Deer Valley guy screaming at Sanderson? He didn't cause this collision."
He will testify.
Christensen doesn't let up, so Ramone steps between them. Christensen stops yelling at Sanderson. Sanderson is still not moving. They ask Sanderson if he is okay, but Sanderson only groans. Craig Ramone turns to Paltrow.
Is
"Are
he
you okay?"
standing up?
He asks several times.
Is he laying
"Are
down?
you okay?" She doesn't say a word, and she slides a few feet down the hill. Terry moves a little and groans. "My ribs." Paltrow turns away and bolts down the mountain to the bottom.
He's not a very
Christensen
compelling
turns to Ramone.
storyteller, sadly.
"Do you realize your buddy just took out Gwyneth Paltrow?" Sanderson moves more, trying to get his skis around.
How do
Eric
they know it's
Christensen steps
Paltrow?
closer to Sanderson, picks him up by his hands, and stands him up. Snow is caked in Sanderson's goggles. Christensen turns his skis down the mountain, and he bolts, skiing straight to the bottom, following Paltrow's group, leaving Sanderson and Ramone alone at the crash site. Sanderson is standing but hunched over, mumbling. And Ramone says, "Do you think you can ski?" "I think so." Sanderson tries, but
He's
skis
trying to
poorly.
tell a story.
Ramone says, "Stop, you forgot how to ski." Do Do you know your name? Terry. Do you know where you are? I have no clue.
He's trying to tell the story.
Ramon says, let me get some help. And Ramon steps back, flags down a Deer Valley employee and says, can you get ski patrol here? This guy's been hit. He's hurt, and he's just out of it, disoriented. Within minutes, a Deer Valley ski patroller, Whitney Smith, arrives with a sled. Smith examines Sanderson, puts him in a sled, and takes him down to the first aid station at the bottom of Bandana. At the first aid station, Sanderson again is evaluated, and he still has some disorientation. His ribs hurt. Whitney Smith tells him, and the group of people in the meetup group that are with him, he needs to go to an Instacare in Park City. Terry goes to the Instacare with someone who drives him. He's not sure who it was. And at the Instacare, he's evaluated, but the Instacare says you need to go to an ER room.
Where is ski
It appears
patrol?
that his pain in his ribs might be broken, and he reported that he was unconscious. The next day, Terry goes into the VA emergency room. So what does the defense have to say about these things? First, they say, that's not the way this happened. He hit me from behind. I know the witness Ramon says he heard me scream and look up and saw the crash. I never saw Sanderson before he hit me. Sanderson was the one who hit me.
That's exactly
This
what
wasn't
they say.
my fault.
Yep.
They also say, the defense, this is all Sanderson's fault. He's the one who can't remember the crash. My ski instructor, Eric Christensen, said he saw Sanderson above me making big turns and going really fast.
That's what they
This
say.
is Sanderson's fault. And they say, look, what's the big deal? He's 69 years old. Our doctors say he had some dementia, blindness in an eye, and many other problems. Yeah, he broke some ribs, but those will heal. And 85% of people with brain injuries heal. What's the big deal? Oh, and look at his high test scores. He can't have a brain injury. And finally, they say, so what if he had a head injury and 4 broken ribs on the day of the crash? 8 hours later, he wrote to his daughter, I'm famous. That shows he can't be injured. And this is just about celebrity of Miss Paltrow.
There is a text to the daughter saying, I'm famous,
Because of the defense's claims
which is
that
interesting.
nothing Miss Paltrow did caused this crash and his injuries, we, on behalf of Terry and his family, we contacted Dr. Richard Bain, a neurologist and biomedical engineer. He applies medicine and physics to understand traumatic brain injuries like this. Dr. Bain,
Okay.
the defense says nothing they did caused this crash and Terry Sanderson's injuries. Is that true? And Dr. Bain says, well, I don't know. Give me everything you've got, including medical records, scans,
He
x-rays, reports, and so
texted
forth.
his
and I want to
daughter,
examine
I'm
him.
famous.
Then I'll look at his case. But just so you know, you may not like what I
after this
say,
crash,
but I'll tell you true.
which is
So we give
odd.
Dr. Bain the x-rays, the tests, the reports, and Terry sees him for an exam. And after Dr. Bain has reviewed these things, we call him up. So Dr. Bain, what do you think? Bain says, no, actually, absolutely, she caused this crash. She hit
How?
him from behind, which means she was higher on the hill than him. Well, but how do you know? Well, he broke his 4 ribs when she hit his back, knocking him down to the ground, and she landed on top of him, just like Ramon, the witness, said. The only way for his broken ribs on the right side could fracture like this is if she hit him from behind and landed on top of him, pressing his right arm into his chest.
that will be the most interesting testimony for who did this, is how his ribs were broken. And that's where the battle of the expert was. Jer said, was there an anti-slap motion? This is not a defamation case. This is a negligence case. So no, anti-slap only deals with defamation cases. This is who crashed into who on the ski slope. So this is this is going to be a lot of medical testimony on who hit who. This is very interesting. The way his ribs broke will actually be very helpful knowing. So this is a civil case. Who is liable? Did Gwyneth Paltrow hit Sanderson, or did Sanderson hit Paltrow? That is all the jury
That's
has to
really the only
decide.
way to have broken 4 ribs like this, too severely broken.
So how
Well, Dr. Bain, the defense says
did the
he should have
ribs
recovered from the
get hurt?
concussion. Well, that makes no sense because he still has symptoms more than 18 months after the crash. That means his brain injury is permanent.
Concussions are
Well,
not
Dr. Bain,
a
would you be
joke.
willing to come to court to testify to our jury
I don't
so we can get
love
this right? Because the
style of
defense says
opening.
they're going to take this all the way to trial.
And here we are.
I'd love to, but I'm busy that week. But I can give you my deposition. So last week, the parties took Dr. Bain's deposition. You, the jury, will see it this week. And just so you know, a deposition is an out-of-court sworn testimony where the lawyers on both sides testify or
There's going to be a
ask
lot of
questions to a witness.
depositions.
And in this case, it was recorded. So what happened to Terry. Well, the day after the crash, he goes to the VA hospital. At the VA, they x-ray his ribs, and they say, yes, you've got 4 broken ribs, 2 of them broken completely. And then a few days later, they confirm Terry suffered a concussion in this ski crash. Over the next year, Terry is seen by various people at the VA,
Yes.
including
Gwyneth Paltrow
speech therapists and other
countersued,
doctors, a
saying that he
psychiatrist.
hit her.
And he's trying to get better. Terry doesn't want to have a brain injury. Terry was a
Nobody
eye
wants
doctor
to
in
have
the
a
Army
brain injury.
for 3 years, a captain. And that's why he goes to the VA.
Nobody wants
But
a
after
brain
a year,
injury.
he's still got symptoms of a persistent brain injury. So I refer him to Dr. Alina Fong. She's a neuropsychologist in Utah County, and she treats thousands of people who suffer brain injuries that are persistent.
Okay.
And Dr. Fong treated Terry from about a year and 3 months after the crash to about a year and 6 months after the crash. Dr. Fong will testify in this case via video deposition because she couldn't be here for trial also. She has a conference in the Netherlands because she treats patients around the world and is a known
I want to go on a
treater of
conference to the
people with
Netherlands.
persistent, post-concussive symptoms, which is basically a brain injury.
There's some drama about whether
So after
how
this
that
litigation
testimony is going to
began,
go. It was
after
in the
2019,
I cover it tomorrow.
Terry
on the
went to
podcast.
see a neuropsychologist, Dr. Wendell Gibby of Utah,
Maybe
who's
I'll release the
examined
podcast
and scanned
earlier
thousands
tomorrow.
of patients with injured brains. A neuroradiologist is a medical doctor who specializes in radiology, everything from x-rays to MRIs to CT scans, and his specialty is also in neuroradiology, examining the brain. But he also examined the chest x-rays that were taken at the VA. And we asked Dr. Gibby, how bad is it? Dr. Gibby says, it's bad. His brain is permanently injured. He has persistent post-concussive symptoms. Although we can treat him, he will certainly have problems with his brain function the rest of his life. Dr. Gibby,
Concussions
the
are no
defense says
joke.
Terry's problems are pre-existing, and his brain problems were there before the crash. Well, that's what they always say about permanent brain injuries. Terry suffered a significant concussive brain injury in the ski crash. The injury is permanent. In other words, Terry will have problems with his brain the rest of his life. Well, doctor, the defense says he has
Misty, I
pre-existing
won't
brain
be
issues such as
streaming
NPH
the
when he had the brain
entire
scan in
trial.
2009, 7 years before the crash.
We're not going
NPH
to
is
be
normal
able to.
pressure
I've got
and,
days that I can't.
hydrocephalus.
But we'll do
Basically, it's
some.
when your brain has too much fluid in the canals of the brain or the ventricles.
I'll be
and it builds up and
interested
it
to
presses on your
see
brain. It may actually
the
make you more
party's
susceptible to
testimony.
problems from a concussion. But many people go their whole life without any symptoms, and they never know they have MPH unless they get a brain scan. Well, the evidence will show that Terry Sanderson had no symptoms of NPH prior to the ski crash. Dr. Gibby says because Terry was asymptomatic or had no symptoms before the crash, the brain injury he suffered in the ski crash is the cause of his current problems, not MPH.
So
Well,
prior
the defense is
existing
3 medical
conditions.
doctors. The defense has hired 3 MDs and 2 PhD neuropsychologists say, well, the MPH is causing his problems. And Dr. Gibby says, well, I'm not sure what they're thinking, but this ski crash caused Terry's current problems. Further, like Dr. Bain, Dr. Gibby thinks it's highly unlikely that Mr. Sanderson hit Ms. Paltrow. The way he sustained the injuries to his ribs is more likely than not caused by Ms. Paltrow landing on his back when Terry Sanderson hit the ground when she rode his back after the ski crash.
Okay.
Then we talked to Dr. Sam Goldstein, a neuropsychologist who has a clinic in Salt Lake City who treats patients with brain injuries. He's been treating people like this for decades. We asked Dr. Goldstein, what can you say about Terry's injuries? The defense says it's more likely dementia or NPH or other problems. Well, Dr. Goldstein says, well, it's permanent and significant, this injury he had when Ms. Paltrow hit him, because his family and friends and the people he
Okay.
knows before and after the crash report that he had very few problems before the crash, but after the crash, he has very significant problems.
And that's going to be important.
Because of that, we know, and because it's lasted for years, more than a year and a half, and now it's been lasted for 7 years, we know he has persistent post-concussive symptoms.
7 years.
Goldstein says, yes, most people recover, but in a situation like this, where Ms. Paltrow denies she caused his injuries, it's like his frustration digs into his frontal lobes, so to speak, and his problems are permanent. Yes, he can alleviate them with treatment and medication, but he will have problems all his life. And these problems didn't exist before the crash. They came after the crash. And there is objective data that his ability to cope with life is diminished.
And that's going to go to damages.
Well, these doctors, Dr. Bain, Fong, Gibby, and Goldstein, you'll hear testimony from, 2 of them by videotape. And most doctors like them say that some of the most important pieces of evidence for understanding brain injuries are these before and after witnesses. Again,
And that's
these are
gonna be
people who
really
knew,
interesting.
Terry before and after the crash. You, the jury, will hear testimony from some of them, like his two daughters, and either today or tomorrow you'll also hear from Carlene Davidson, the girlfriend Terry had at the time of the crash. They've been together about a year and a half, and they spent a lot of time together. Miss Davidson spent maybe 3 out of 4 weeks with Terry Sanderson in Salt Lake City. They traveled the world together. Carlene Davidson knew Terry really well, and she'll report on what happened after the crash to Terry. A couple of things I'd like to discuss with you. The media has not been accurate. No Deer Valley ski employee saw the ski crash. Now,
Why are we
some
talking
employees
about
saw-
the media?
Some people saw the crash.
Yeah, why is-
outside media?
Yes.
Saying that's not going to come into
Okay.
case.
Some people.
That's
The Deer
inappropriate.
Valley employees did not see the ski crash.
I'm glad
Deer
there was an
Valley
objection.
employees saw some things before the crash and some things after the crash. Craig Ramon
This case
is the only eyewitness who actually
truly
saw the crash. You're going to hear from him later
who's
today.
doing
He'll be
what?
the first witness.
we don't know.
After this crash, before this crash, Terry was a charming, outgoing, gregarious person. He volunteered for many things. He was a retired eye doctor.
Gypsy Soul, this is a great question about assumption of the risk. Deer Valley Deer Valley has been removed from this case. These are the two parties suing each other. There are rules with regard to skiing. There are laws in Utah with regard to skiing. And you owe a duty of care to other skiers on the mountain to ski safely. So who is at fault is what this is over. Is this, Gwyneth Paltrow crashes into dude on ski slope or dude crashes into Gwyneth Paltrow on ski slope? That is the entirety of this case. It seems that they'll be able to prove he was injured. How those injuries were caused, though, is the crux of this case. Who is negligent? So assumption of the risk goes to Deer Valley not being responsible here, but it's not to somebody being negligent and running into you. And that's the entire heart of this case is negligence. Gwyneth, Elizabeth asked, was Gwyneth injured too? Gwyneth Paltrow in her complaint says that she was sore. We'll hear from her lawyers and stopped skiing from the day.
He had moved from southern Idaho to Salt Lake City about 10 years ago.
Carrie Cook said, but wasn't
was
this an accident? They're
Living
saying
a
it was
full life,
negligent.
traveling the world, doing everything possible to enjoy his life and guard his
So
health.
saying it was
He did not want a
negligent.
brain injury. He did everything possible he could to fix his brain injury. But after the crash, he's no longer charming. The before and after witnesses will show you this. We asked Terry to step out during this part because I didn't want to rub his nose in his own problems. And during other parts of testimony from his daughters and some of the other before and after witnesses, Terry won't be in the courtroom.
Not just an accident.
At the end of this trial, the evidence will have clearly and convincingly established that the value, not the cost, but the value of the damages done to Terry Sanderson is $3,276,000. We look forward to showing you all of the evidence.
$3 million is what they are looking
Thank you,
for.
Mr. Bueller. Mr. Owens?
Can we have a 5-minute break? And I do want to address one thing with the court.
Okay. Why don't we take a short recess between the lawyers' opening statements? So thank you.
Okay, it looks like they're going on a break. Let's see if they go sidebar. It seems like they're going sidebar. I like the judge's bow tie. This might not be where we live now. We're not necessarily moving to Utah, folks. Don't pack a bag yet.
Court has found that there was insufficient evidence to assert number 45 to the defense.
Okay, we're putting something on the record. I'm going to
the instruction
slow this down because I want to hear what the court is putting on the record.
number 45 to the defense. This court has found that there was insufficient evidence to assert a hit and run. They didn't use the words hit and run, but they said she bolted. And this jury is under the misimpression that is an issue in this case. It's not an issue. That was ruled on summary judgment.
And it was
All that remains
dismissed.
is a negligence claim. One can't be negligent for bolting from the scene of an accident. That's an intentional conduct. So I ask for that instruction right now.
Your Honor. As the first witness, those are his exact words. And he's testified that in front of, it's been provided to defense counsel before the
Oh, boy.
litigation, during the litigation, and a deposition. His deposition lasted 6 hours, and the defense interrogated him on this, and he never changed his testimony, and that's his testimony. Now, they can quibble with the testimony and dispute the testimony, but I did not use the word hit and run. Eric Christensen came up, people asked, are you okay? The evidence is, will show that what I said in the opening is accurate per the only eyewitness, Craig Ramon.
They say.
And obviously the concern is that there may be an implication that it goes to duty. And as long as you're not making an implication that she had a duty to do something different, the testimony of the witnesses is what the testimony of the witnesses is. You can ask your questions, you can point things out, you can make your arguments.
Cross-examine.
But my ruling on the instruction 45 will stand. Thank you.
I guess we're
Short
going.
5-minute break.
All right, the court's taking a 5-minute break. We are not covering this live. We are just going to go through opening arguments of the parties. And then I have got to scoot today. It looks like this attorney's opening might be long. We caught the tail end of it on this live. I will cover parts of this case if y'all are interested. Here's what I'm considering. I'm considering releasing tomorrow's podcast a little early.
People are in.
On the video so you all can get caught up. And if we want to cover this for the day tomorrow, I will have to take a look and see if I have some time to do so and talk to the team and the mods. So I will ask you about that. Let's go look at this opening statement. I will put up another poll if you guys want me to cover this tomorrow and see. And I'll put out the podcast early and see what time court's resuming tomorrow with this case. Let's take a look. You all love live trials. I know you do.
Big disputes. Our system, both our U.S. Constitution and our state constitution.
Don't start with the Constitution. Tell them the story of what happened. For fuck's sake.
Allows these disputes to be done openly, publicly, and by a jury of one's peers. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It's slow. A lot of people complain about lawyers, but no one gets hurt.
Oh, God. When you have nothing to say is when you go to the Constitution.
In terms of, we don't burn people's houses down, we don't do acts of violence. And oddly enough, if a trial is done right, even the losing party feels that they were heard and understood and that they feel some sense of peace. So if you can't tell,
Maybe a Utah
this is a
rest
big deal
stop.
to the parties, and it's really special that you were chosen. You should feel complimented, and perhaps one day you'll tell your children and grandchildren, I was selected for a jury, and it was an honor to serve, and I helped my community by trying to figure out a difficult problem that the parties have.
I do like
And so I thank you
complimenting
for
the
that.
jurors.
Even in Greece, ancient Greece, they used to resolve problems like this.
Fuck!
Big disputes. Bring in some criminal, some are civil. That essentially means, can someone go to jail for it? That's criminal.
Stop
If
it!
someone's asking for money, that's civil. So this is a civil claim.
Don't go to ancient Greece.
And they would gather the people and listen to the dispute. So this is a very historic tradition. The burden of proof is one of your statements here from the judge, and I just want to comment on it. Burden of
Sir,
proof.
this is an opening. Sir, this is an opening statement. Tell the story of what happened. You know what the other side just said? The other side said that this gentleman has a traumatic brain injury that is permanent and broken ribs because your client ran into him on the ski slope. Why are you talking to me about ancient Greece? Yes, our tradition of law is a beautiful tradition. I agree with you, but you are not lecturing a law school class saying you have chosen to go into a noble profession. You're talking to jurors.
Is a
Tell
weighing
them
of
the
evidence.
story.
So I put before you Lady Justice. If you're ever in Salt Lake, go to the Salt Lake City County building and look up, and it's this statute, although this is not the exact statute of her. But you've seen this around, and I've done another one for you here that I like to keep in my office. All right, so what's
I keep
important
Lady
about
Justice
this?
in my
She's
office too.
blindfolded. So one of the judge's instructions for you was no sympathy, passion, or prejudice. You're not to award anyone anything because you feel sorry for them. This is important because over the next 2 weeks, we're going to hear a
My
lot
earring
about
yeeted
Terry
itself 'cause
Sanderson's
it's
mental and
annoyed.
physical health, both before the ski collision and after the ski collision.
It
And
went
you're gonna
all the way
feel
under my
sorrow for
desk.
him.
Hold on.
But
I'll
we're
be
not
back.
here. I can feel sorrow too, but that's not why you're here. You're here to figure out if someone negligently crashed into someone or if no one did. And I think the law will permit you to decide that no one was at fault. Unlike a car accident or something, a
Hi.
ski collision is different.
It's
There are
me.
inherent risks of skiing. I know when I get on the top of the tram at Snowbird, and it's a gusty day like today, and I say, if I don't do this right, I could kill myself. I mean, it's a breathtaking, wonderful, exhilarating, but also a little dangerous, isn't
It's
it? That we're strapping on
exhilarating.
pieces of wood or fiberglass on our boots, and we're going down a
Yes,
very
you
snowy, icy
throttle
hill.
yourself down a hill. That's
So-
true. You do that.
That happens. Maybe some of you have been hit. I've been hit.
How many of you
Skiing.
ski?
Disorienting.
Hold
It was
on.
Unhappy. I was unhappy, to say the least. But I did recognize it as an inherent risk. I mean, okay, let me move on that.
Yeah, please.
So
That's
the blindfold
bordering
is,
into,
I'm not going to do this because I
objectionable.
feel sorry for someone. Then the scales. Mr. Sanderson has brought the claim. As a result, he has to tip the scale, okay? The tie means plaintiff does not win. Tie goes to the defendant. So they have to tip. That's who brought the claim. That's the weighing. And then you see the sword.
Okay, what's the
Now,
story?
the sword can be, I'm seeking justice, so I'm proactively fighting it, and sometimes Lady Justice is actually seen with a shield. Let me suggest that that sword is being used to defend a meritless claim, a false allegation, really kind of an offensive one.
Oh,
That
They're
she
offended.
somehow left him an unconscious man and bolted, and it's I can tell you, we believe it to be utter BS.
I can tell you.
Objection, Your Honor. Argument.
Yep.
Supposed to present what he's going to show, not
Yep.
argue it.
We believe it to be.
Yep.
It's fair. It's fair, isn't it?
It's not
Oh, sustained.
fucking hell. Oh, let's back up. I'm going to slow this down and tell you what he did wrong. We're going to back up real quick. This attorney, you heard him mess up because he is saying, look, he's getting ready to say it's utter BS. This is argument. These are opening statements. Opening statements are the evidence will show this and that. You tell the story. Look at this. This is the face. This is the moment where you're like, fuck it. We're doing it anyway. All right, let's take a listen.
We believe it to be utter BS.
Objection, Your Honor. Argument. He's supposed to present what he's going to show, not argue it.
We believe
He starts to say, we believe this is fair argument. Listen to what he says. That's how you know you're wrong. It's your opening.
it to be. It's fair. It's fair, isn't it?
Oh, sustained. It is bordering on argument, counsel.
Thank you.
It is argument.
He's suing for $3 million. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to hit damages later. I want to hit the merits of the case first.
Tell the
So
story.
the burden of proof,
Oh, geez.
I wanted to emphasize. And then instruction 11 says, don't abandon your common sense. So this can look, you're going to hear from brain experts and a lot of people to talk about this. But don't abandon your common sense. That's very important.
Okay, counsel.
I also want to just reference to you that you should pay attention more to the records before someone's thinking lawsuit than the records after someone's thinking lawsuit.
Objection, argument, Your Honor. This isn't opening statement. This is argument.
Sustained.
It is argument.
You're going to see a lot of records about what was going on before and during,
Sir,
and then after.
what will the evidence show?
Some of the records before indicate that Terry Sanders had brain issues before. In fact, there was a prior MRI. Now,
Okay.
let me hit the accident because I'd be silly
Is hit the word you want to use?
to address other issues. Let me explain what was happening. And can you find that second picture? Ms. Paltrow has sentimental feelings about skiing. Her dad, who left this life too early, took her skiing as a kid at Alta. She grew up learning to ski, and those are very sentimental trip. In fact, after her dad died in his 50s, she didn't ski for a long time because it was an emotional thing for her. That is Ms. Paltrow. That is Gwyneth on the right. That is her son, Moses, on the left. On
It's
the very
Gwyneth.
day of the ski accident. All right, so they're going up, and this was also, so it was a
What?
sentimental issue because she had started getting back into skiing, and she did it because she wanted her kids to learn like she had. Another thing, she had a boyfriend at the time who's now her husband, and he has kids the exact same age
Gwyneth
as
is married?
Gwyneth's daughter and son.
How lovely.
Oddly, the daughter is the same age as the daughter and the son as the son. And this was really their
Okay.
first trip to sort of have a mixed, see if this might work. So it was a special time, and it was a lovely day. So some ski events, we worry about, is the sun in someone's eyes? No one's saying that. Is it a snowy day? No, it was a nice day. How about, was it slick run?
Okay.
No, it was a nice groomed run. How about, was it really complex hill? No, it wasn't the bunny hill, but Bandana, who maybe some of you know, I mean, it's It's a green hill.
Okay.
And so none of those factors kind of come into play. Moderately busy. And she's skiing, again, with a group. So her group is she, Brad, now her husband, who you're going to hear from, her daughter, Apple, who you're going to hear from, Moses, who you're going to hear from, and then
I forgot her daughter was
some
named
Deer
Apple.
Valley people. Now, these weren't her people. These were Deer Valley instructors. I could have hired Eric Christiansen that day just as
There's the
Gwyneth
sound
did.
engineers from Court TV in court.
And then
She and Chris
Brad has
Martin
2
are
kids,
divorced, right?
and they had ski instructors.
Who's
So
Brad?
that was their group. It was kind of a loose group, but nonetheless, they went to the top. They met at the top of Bend.
Lawyers need to tell the story clearly. This is not telling the story clearly. Gwyneth Paltrow and her family went skiing for the day. And that day got derailed when she was hit on the ski slope. If that's your story, just, oh my God.
Dana with the plan. This was about 11:30, 11 a.m. We're going to go down and have lunch. I think it's the Empire Lodge, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so we're going to all kind of ski down.
Great.
Gwyneth
want
is a
lunch.
conservative skier. She always skis on the far right. So if it's like a highway, fast people go on the left. I don't know if it's the same, but
What?
far right, and then
Can
kinda
you see
small
the
curves.
headlines? Gwyneth Paltrow, far right.
And
Sorry.
she's generally
just-
watching her kids, but she's not specifically
She skis
watching.
to the
because
right.
they're
The fast
instructors.
lane is to the left? Okay.
She's skiing, enjoying herself, and she hears. Suddenly, she sees 2 skis.
Does she
appear
hear or does she
between
see?
her skis,
Wait.
and a man
She hears, she sees? Did she hear or did she see?
comes up right behind her. Now they're not going fast. That's kind of the odd thing.
Don't
here.
sneak up behind me.
He comes up almost body to body like this
Ugh.
and starts groaning.
Ew!
She doesn't.
What? The. What is happening in this opening statement? Okay. So he just said that somebody came up behind her, body to body, and started groaning. Sir? This makes a little bit more sense of some of the motions in limine. And okay, just bear with me just a second. In one of the motions in limine, they were talking about the defense, Paltrow, wanting to bring up prior bad acts of sexual harassment. Interesting. This has gone a completely different way.
know what's going on. What's going on? Am I being assaulted? She's moving
How did she hear if she's in a helmet?
forward, and then she's like, they begin falling to the right, and she's feeling freaked out, I think is a fair statement. And he hits down, apparently his side and his head, and she is essentially falling on him. But keep in mind, his skis are intertwined now with hers. Her first reaction is get away from this. And so she's
His
pulling,
skis are
trying to get away.
intertwined?
What has just happened? Now, she only has to think about this for a few seconds to realize, okay, I'm not being assaulted. But this fellow, she had a more colorful word, has just run into me. And she said, "What are you doing?" Her words to
In their motion, okay, in their counterclaim, the filing, this is context. The filing of the ski patrol report says that the plaintiff, in this case, Sanderson, took her out from behind. That's the language in the ski collision report. Took her out from behind. So that's where we're at. We're at Gwyneth Paltrow getting taken out from behind.
that effect. And he's like, words to the effect, "I didn't see you." And then there's a question, well, who ran into who? And he says, you ran into me? And Gwyneth's like, no, you ran square right into me. And he said, I'm sorry. He doesn't deny saying, I'm sorry.
But if he has a
he doesn't
brain
remember
injury.
it, but he doesn't dispute it. Now, she's still ticked off. In fact, much has been said about the so-called only eyewitness. So you're going to hear from him this afternoon. I don't have to give you a commentary on him.
I will.
But he will say
well, no,
he
I won't. Not this
heard and
afternoon.
turned.
Maybe tomorrow.
He heard and turned. That's what the Deer Valley guy says. Eric Christiansen, one of the instructors, said he heard and turned and then saw. So I'll comment just a minute more on Mr. Ramon in just a minute. You'll hear about him. Back to Gwyneth's story.
This is so
she's backed
odd.
up. She's safe. Eric's on the scene. He's helping people get their skis off. And he's trying to figure out what happened. Now, Eric, backing up, they started at the hill. This is at the very beginning of the hill, by the way. It's not halfway down. It's not 3/4 down. It's the first quarter down. He's trying to figure out what happened. But he had seen Gwyneth go down. Then Terry, who was cutting across the whole thing. If I'm misstating it, we're going to have to defer to their testimony when they testify, but I'm trying to give you a big picture.
You're not
making
doing a great
wide,
job, sir.
Much wider turning. And guess what? He's blind in one eye and has decreasing vision in his left eye.
The
He has
plaintiff.
hearing aids. He's had heart, stroke, many other medical conditions. Just weeks earlier, he had told his doctor, I'm feeling old suddenly.
I mean, same,
And
but like
Terry's
every day
story, by
past
the way,
30.
is that he's coming across and he sees a struggling younger woman, not younger, a struggling female skier. And he wants to be
What?
really clear to stay away from her. So
I'm
he's
so
actually
lost.
turning his head to clear the beginner skier. And what happens? He comes right upon Gwyneth. He back turns with his better eye, and suddenly she's there. So the Deer Valley report, do you mind? By the way, Deer Valley is not a party to this lawsuit. The court dismissed Deer Valley. So Gwyneth's not Deer Valley.
Hey!
Deer Valley stands on its own.
Objection to argument. Your Honor.
Yes.
Overruled.
Deer Valley stands on its own.
The court
and,
dismissed it is what I would object to.
I don't know if they're going to assert like there's some massive cover-up or what, but
Objection. Argument.
Yes.
Sustained.
okay, back one, I think, James.
These openings are not concise, and that's the problem.
By the way, I think the goal is to give everyone a little better access with these little screens, but it hasn't worked out today.
Great.
So Eric Christiansen, remember, he hears and he turns, and he goes directly over there. He's there within seconds, and he's seen what happened. And what does he say? Can you blow up
It's
the first
interesting.
half?
The defendant
Chief
is still
complaint,
not
male
present.
skier
Sorry, the plaintiff is not present for the openings.
took her out from behind.
Hey, there we go. We get to see the this is the evidence. I was skiing with 9-year-old skiing down short turns. Male skier took her out from behind. It then says, I didn't see it, but heard her scream as she went down. I skied directly to her. The man was behind her. Both were in discomfort.
He's putting this together, and
I
then
didn't see
let's do
it.
the bottom
It
thing,
says it right
and then
there.
we won't focus
you
on
ignored that
exhibits
part.
anymore really today on this. But
I like
first
that program.
thing male skier said, does that say said? I can't read it.
Counsel, it's your opening. Now's not the time to figure it the fuck out.
Anyone?
Stated.
Stated was that she appeared
Who
right
answered?
in front of him, thus admitting that he was the uphill skier. She never saw him because
It's your
he came in
exhibit!
from behind.
Oh,
That was the
hell.
evaluation from the Deer Valley skier, from the Deer Valley instructor. Interestingly,
Sir.
Eric's trying to figure out, Eric Christiansen, the ski instructor, is trying to figure out, all right, what's the first question, by the way? Everyone okay? Everyone okay? Now, they were both
67% of you
take
not
a body
skiers.
blow. It takes a little while to gather your senses.
We're going to learn a lot
Recognize,
about
okay,
skiing
I'm safe, okay.
over the next
But
few days, I suspect.
his answer was he was okay. And he was on his feet. This took minutes. Gwyneth was not happy still.
It's interesting he's
Moses,
referring to her
who you're
as
going to meet,
Gwyneth.
he's now 16, but he was a 9-year-old at the time, was with his
If somebody ran into me on a ski slip, I'd be fucking pissed.
instructors.
I just don't know
Instructors
who
started
ran
to come
into
over.
who.
Moses came over, and he
I
saw his mom.
don't.
And he was worried. He hadn't seen his mom. First of all, she's on the ground, and she's yelling at this guy. She might have said something like, "What the F word?" And I think she might have said the F word. We're going to figure that out.
Gwyneth
And
said,
she's mad.
fuck?
And he said, "I haven't seen my mom like that." And he was sort of personally a little upset. All right. And then, okay, everyone's okay? Everyone's okay. And Eric Christiansen, the ski instructor, said, a ski patrol person, who's different than the instructor, a ski patrol person came by and said, "Everyone okay?" And he said, Mr. Sanderson and Craig Ramon, who you're going to meet this afternoon, talked to each other and said, "We're okay."
Talk to me, baby.
And they
Sorry.
said, "We're okay," and the ski patrol left.
Not sorry.
All right, now everyone's okay. And then I think Eric Christiansen, okay.
You think? Or did, what?
Gwyneth, you can go join your family. By the way,
This
your
is
family's
so
waiting
difficult
for
to
at the
follow.
bottom. Brad, interestingly, had heard it and looked up and saw his wife on the ground and had come back up, and she had skied down to be with him, not to leave. By the way, you'll never hear the words hit and run in this whole trial. This was not a hit
You
and run.
just said it.
The plaintiffs even had a ski expert evaluate it, and he said it's not a hit and run.
Oh my
so
God.
Take that out of your mind. All right, so
You put it in their mind by saying it.
all right, now what's going on? Okay, everyone's good to go. Everyone went. Terry, right before he left, apparently,
Oh my God.
Eric Christiansen said, "Your buddy just took out Gwyneth Paltrow." They didn't even, no one knew who she was.
How?
By the way, she had the helmet and goggles and everything. Guess who who denied that? Craig Ramon. Their so-called first skier has a whole different crazy story.
That's
Objection,
argument.
Your Honor.
That is argument.
Overruled?
That is argument.
No, then I reassert my crazy comment. All right, so.
That is argument.
I'll continue the story.
Without
Everyone's
the argument.
good to go. Okay,
I
then
don't- y'all,
they now
this
hear
is not,
she's Gwyneth
this is
Paltrow.
killing me.
And they're like, okay, well, let's
Natalie
let's
asked,
ski down.
why
So
does
they
her
ski
identity
down
matter?
a ways
Because
further.
she's the
And
one
Terry,
being sued.
I shouldn't call him Terry, Mr. Sanderson, does not feel good.
I
He feels
can't
confused,
follow
he says.
you.
So you'll hear them.
This dude makes me miss
Well,
Poot.
let's get a ski patrol person now. We had previously waved one off, but now we've changed our
I didn't like
mind.
all of Poot's tactics,
We need
but at
ski
least I
patrol.
could follow him.
Toboggan person comes named Whitney, and she pulls up, and the first thing Whitney says is, "What happened?"
This guy might
And
make me miss a lane.
Mr. Sanderson says,
At
"I
least
don't
she was
know.
entertaining.
I'm not sure." He did not say, "I was just hit." Interestingly, Craig Ramon, the friend, did not correct that statement. So Craig Ramon, by the way, never once told Eric Christiansen.
It's not Christensen? I pronounced it wrong the
Excuse me,
entire
she
podcast
hit
yesterday
him.
then.
Didn't say one word about it.
Okay.
Didn't say we need help. Part of this crazy story is he says Mr. Sanderson was out cold for 2 minutes.
Sanderson said in his
Unconscious.
press conference he was unconscious for
Now,
5
do
to
you know
10
how long
minutes.
it is to look at a person who might be like dead or dying for 2 minutes and not do one thing? He didn't do anything.
Okay.
It's not true. Everyone on the scene is
It's
saying,
not true, his argument.
absolutely. If he was out, it was for seconds.
Chat, I have to leave in
Not
just a few
2
minutes.
minutes.
I'm going to speed him up a little.
Christiansen's
'Cause
going to just
I am up
ignore
against
someone
a
who's
deadline.
out cold. He's saying, "I'm okay." He's on his feet. He's declining ski patrol. Very different story than someone who's out cold. I said, "Did you start CPR, like where you check his breathing and stuff?" No, I didn't do any of it. You'll see there are a lot of ridiculous things I think about it.
Objection, Your Honor. Argument.
Sustained?
Gwyneth didn't have a helmet. he says Gwyneth didn't have a helmet or a face mask or a goggles on her.
just arguing the whole
she had those
time.
things. She doesn't go around skiing. She's safe conscious, and she's probably a little celebrity conscious about, like, I don't do that. So anyway.
So what is being
we'll
celebrity
address that this
conscious?
afternoon more, but let me continue the story. So he's on the toboggan.
Wait,
Now,
what the fuck?
Whitney, this toboggan person's pretty smart. She goes, hey, I want you to remember.
Yeah, Rob, I don't
I'm going to tell you a few things. I
disagree.
want you to remember them. And they're unique things. We'll get into it later. And at the bottom of the hill, she's checking them, and he remembers all of them. In fact, he's a poster. So he posts a very happy, smiling picture
He's a poster? What?
of the toboggan person and a very articulate comment repeating, like, she went to Michigan, she won the ski thing.
On
very
what
detailed. And he
social
posts it.
media? Where?
Okay, well, that's nice, but it's not something you do if you just suffered a major traumatic brain injury. All right, so articulate.
He's a
everything.
poster.
At the bottom, he's talking. He's
She's a
conversing.
pusher.
This isn't like garbled,
Put it in the burn
crazy
book.
talk where you think head injury is important. So he, by the way, he takes a picture. So he likes to take pictures and post things on Facebook and everything of Ramon and
Facebook
one of the
post.
women he was skiing with, and they're all smiles. Like you'd post, you wouldn't know, like, this is taken by someone who just suffered a major head collision or something. And boom, it's posted. Okay, great. This is good because we're getting real life things from him in his own fingers in his own head.
questioning the 4 broken ribs. Broken
Then he
ribs
goes to
hurt
an
like a
Instacare person.
motherfucker.
Instacare person says no signs of confusion. Okay, that's a big issue, right? If we're worrying about.
Interesting.
By the way, there's a nurse on your panel, but I take it from our experts that you'll hear that if you hit your head and you say, I have confusion, essentially
might have
you are
a
diagnosed.
point
I mean,
somewhere.
you have a concussion. I mean, so maybe it's more than that. I might be
But
simplifying it, and forgive me if I am. There's
He
nothing I'm
might
saying
have
is
a
evidence, but I'm
point,
trying to give you
but
the
we are
story.
so lost
So
in the way
the guy
he's
there
finding
is
that
like,
point
okay,
that we can't find the point with a fucking map
I can't rule out problems, so you should get a CT.
and a compass.
A CT is imaging of the brain, and he ends up going to the VA hospital the next day.
I'm so lost.
The CT, it's interesting. So he had a stroke-like event and lost his right eye, like 6 years earlier. So we have imaging of his
Okay.
brain 6 years earlier. And guess what? There are defects in that new CT. But guess what? They were there before. They were there before. And guess what their experts didn't do? Go back and look to see if the problems in his current imaging is present on his 6-year-old CT of the brain. It's kind of crazy. They're interviewing him.
It's kind of crazy.
He's telling them things, but no one's actually trying to go back and sort of say, look, is his brain different? Okay. You're going to hear from some daughters. By the way, there was reference to 2 daughters. He has 3 daughters. He's on the outs with that daughter. She paints a not that great story about him before the ski accident.
There's drama.
Why do we dig into this? No one wants to dig into this.
You
But
do?
if a 75-year-old man says, I don't think as well as I used to. My brain doesn't work as well as I used to. I forget things. We have to, which is why we're all here, we have to go back and look at these things. If he says my relationships were harmed by Gwyneth, we have to go back, it's kind of a deep dive, and say, what were your relationships like before this? And it's not pleasant. I mean, like, half of the trial is going to be on this kind of stuff, because if someone says, I have a severe $3 million brain injury caused by you, we have no...
Yeah, we
I have
are
a
definitely
lawyer
tangled in the tow rope.
obligation to represent my client and say, what's true? And I'm telling you, he does have confusion. He does have strained relationships. He does forget some things. But guess what?
Is it appropriate?
It's a normal
Okay,
aging
that's what he's saying. It's appropriate
and his
to his
pre-existing
age.
problems coming forward and progressing.
Dr. Riley's saying the
Back to
jury's
the
checked
story.
out at this
So
point, and we're
Instacare,
listening
They say, go get a CT
fast. And
tomorrow.
I'm having a hard time.
And then he posts, and let's put that up.
Because he's a poster.
So he's a poster.
He's
okay?
a poster.
Big on Facebook. So there are lots of pictures of him, which helps us. It helps us understand.
The pictures will actually be helpful, I think.
What does he post to his daughters? I'm famous. He doesn't post I'm hurt. He doesn't post googly gawk. Is that the right word?
Googly what?
Confusing stuff. Could you highlight the bottom
Is
half?
he trying to say gobbledygook or great googly moogly? The I'm famous.
Famous.
Wait,
This is
wait a second. You said this, is this a Facebook post? Because this looks like a fucking email. Jesus. He said it was a Facebook post. Those are emails. Okay. I need context.
8 p.m. The accident had occurred just before lunch. So 8 hours later,
Subject,
he's
I'm
home.
famous. Here's what happened
And
from
then
my
he said,
friend and eyewitness.
here's what happened. From my friend and eyewitness, this Craig. And he
A
posts
post from Meetup.
it. He posts it.
That he doesn't post
Wouldn't you
it.
be interested to know what this post was in real time? This video or photo? Apparently
It's an
video.
email.
Your Honor, that's just trying to explain the evidence here.
It's
So you've got
argument.
evidence, I mean, this is evidence that will come in,
That it's not there.
okay? Overruled as to that.
Wouldn't we
What
all
part of the
like to
opening
know? I apologize. We're okay?
Yes.
Wouldn't we like to know what this was?
Objection, argument, Your Honor. This is argument.
Sustained?
It's nowhere to be found. We're in a courtroom 7 years later trying to figure out what happened. It was right there, nowhere to be found. And then, can you do the top half? This is his daughter. I can't believe this is all on GoPro.
What?
I can't believe this is all on GoPro. Where's the GoPro? Do we want it? We want it. It's nowhere to be found.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm glad you're okay. He's telling his daughters, I'm okay. All right.
That's
We're
going to
trying
be
put together a
interesting
lot of
evidence.
facts. You're going to hear, I don't know, like 20 people are going to come in, half of them medical people, and try to figure this out. It'll be interesting. I think after this trial, we'll go, that was
There's
cool.
missing
Actually,
GoPro
we learned
footage.
a lot, and you are given to our community. But about half of the information you're going to hear, if you find that Gwyneth did not cause the accident, you can disregard all the damages talk. So we're going to hear a week of evidence on Terry's brain, Mr. Sanderson's brain.
A
But-
week talking about this man's brain.
If you find no negligence by Ms. Paltrow,
It doesn't
Then-
matter.
you can disregard all that.
Your Honor, I object. This is a classic argument.
Sustained?
It is argument.
$1 bill.
Oh gosh, this is argument too.
Gwyneth was hurt by Mr. Sanderson's negligence.
This is
When
argument.
He came up behind her, paralleled her, and went. She says she has a prior knee problem. She was worried about it.
Argument,
separated
argument,
from him
argument,
with help.
argument.
Then boyfriend came up, and she is upset. She has
The money.
anyone sustaining a blow is upset. She's sore.
Of course.
She never went to a doctor, but for this, by the way. But it rattled her, and it physically hurt her. When they were dismissed, they went down to the bottom of the hill. And who was waiting for her? Her daughter, Apple,
It's a ski
now
wreck.
18, then
The daughter's for argument.
8, I think. No.
11.
11, sorry, I got that mixed up. So, and Apple's like, what took you so long? And she said, some a-hole just ran into me. I think she used the real word. All right, why is this important? She didn't say, I just ran into someone.
Sir?
She was mad. And over lunch, she was mad. And then after lunch,
Oh,
she
we're almost
said,
done. I think we're almost done.
that guy kind of hurt me.
Oh no,
And
we're
I'm not
not
going to see
almost
the rest of the
done.
day. There's even a text from Gwyneth's own phone,
Y'all,
Eric Christiansen.
I'm not
And
going
they're
to be
like,
able to
Moses
finish
wants to know if
this.
you're coming. I'm going to go
'Cause
in.
I've got a hard
That guy
stop.
kind of hurt me. And she went in. And she lost her full day pass that she had paid for, and she only got to ski half a day. In addition,
Poor
she had paid for her
Gwyneth.
instructor, who now was diverted from teaching her son Moses to take care of this collision issue. And so we ask you for $1. Now, this is a lot to go through for $1, but it's an actual $1.
That's
she-
argument.
She had come with her family to enjoy a family
Objection,
vacation.
this is again argument. This is classic argument.
These are facts.
This is closing argument.
Overruled as to the comments that are being made right now, those are facts?
It was
Yeah,
argument
and let's keep
before.
the interruptions to a minimum, will we? On cl-
Well, counsel.
Oh, we're gonna slow that down. This trial's gonna get spicy. Hold on. That lawyer is directly talking to the other attorney, not the court.
No, this is again argument. This is classic argument.
These are
This
facts.
is closing argument.
Overruled as to the comments that are being made right now, those are facts?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and let's keep the interruptions to a minimum, would we?
Well, counsel,
Thank
go
you.
ahead. I mean, the objections have been valid, some of them.
That's
So,
so inappropriate.
She came for a family vacation. Half the afternoon was kind of ruined. And so that $1 is important to us. It's important to my client.
And that is where we are stopping for now. These lawyers are going to get spicy. I'm going to put up another poll in our member spaces and here on the channel. I have got to go because I have a hard stop. I have some media interviews I have to go do. So with that, I'm sorry that we had to do a hard stop. This is all over the interwebs if you want to go watch the rest of it. I will try to follow up the rest of it, and I will keep you in the loop if I'm going to stream tomorrow. I think I'm going to release the podcast early. If you want to know exactly what I'm doing, lawnerdaralert.com is free, and I will keep you in the loop with when I'm streaming if I'm adding streaming. So with that, go sign up at lawnerdaralert.com. We had to take a peeky peek. The audio of the podcast is up at 4 a.m. tomorrow if you want to listen to it. And I will see about releasing the video of the podcast early tomorrow if we decide to stream instead of just doing this at 11. I've got to talk to the mods and my family because covering trial is quite a lot. LawNerdAlert.com, and I will keep you in the loop. Members, I will keep you in the loop in the members spaces, and we will decide what we're going to do. But for now, I have got to go because of obligations I have committed to. Thank you for being here. This is going to be interesting. Go sign up for the emails, and we'll decide on the fly what we're going to do. I have a feeling I'm going to see y'all soon. You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at Law. That was me. I accidentally did that. You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at lawnerdshop.com. Connect with me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. And don't forget to check out my podcasts, The Emily Show, and the new podcast, Quick Bits, summarizing everything I talk about on my Tuesday and Thursday live streams. You know, when you only have time for just the quick bits.